right. Well, we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this December Dye-a-Thon, where we're going to take our take on this and kind of a 2-for-1 for me because I'm going to be doing my Secret Santa disc for the Dyers Guild here. Yes, technically it is a day late for that, but, you know, the person will actually get to see how their disc was made. Hopefully I don't mess up. Thank you again for joining, and also for the Secret Santa. If you signed up and didn't send out your disc yet, do that. Technically, Monday was the last due date to get your disc out. But yeah, we don't want our recipients to be wondering where the hell my package is. Also, if you already sent out your package or are going to and have a tracking number, put that on or fill that form out. The link to the form is on the swap page. Words are really hard for me right now, but would love for you to put your tracking information, even if you already sent your disc out, in case someone was like, hey, I didn't get mine, can you take a look? We don't want anybody to get scrooged, but if you do get scrooged, we'll make it up to you somehow. But yeah. So today we're going to take our take on the theme of Winter Wonderland. I already saw some submissions already, so it's better than 0, so someone's gonna win something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm gonna start basically from the beginning, because one thing that I wanted to show people is how I do the vinyl from like applying the transfer paper to the disc, because I feel like some people had questions of how to do that. And I'll explain the materials that I use, and Brittany can also explain her savage ways as well. But yeah.
Yes. Logic is so bad.
So I already have my stencil cut out, and I'm going to switch my camera so you can actually see what I am doing. But I got my stencil cut out, and the disc that we're going to be dyeing on is a ESP zone. So if you're the person that wanted a zone, might give you a hint of who
This could be yours.
could be yours. I didn't have any other of the recipients requested discs. Been finding out this ESP plastic, at least this bottom stamp stuff, has been fading really fast. I don't know if you guys noticed that at all, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like other ESP plastic was way better than this bottom stamp stuff. So it's kind of a bummer, but I also feel like
it goes on really nice.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like even different runs of this stuff that one is better than the other, but I don't know.
I did feel like the second batch that I got was a little better, but it could totally be like it felt like glossier. The first one was like really matte, and then the second run they did was like different discs, and it was a little glossier, and I think it was a little better. So it could be a little variation.
Gotcha. But yeah, we'll be doing that on a zone, and so yeah, I'll go through my entire process of what I do for my vinyl. First things first is the vinyl that I like to personally use is the Oracle 651 in matte black. There, you can't see the backing, but says the name of it. The reason why I like this specifically is historically it's been very good for me for as far as like the tack, so it actually seals and to make sure there's no bleed. Typically it's been easy for me to work with to weed, and it doesn't get sticky. But for the last 2 batches that I got on Amazon, it was horrendous. But I don't know if it was like official Oracle 651 or if it was like a knockoff or just been sitting for a while and it was old. I don't know. So if you do get a batch of vinyl and you're like, why is everybody liking this? That may be why. But yeah, this is a fresh roll that I got, and we'll see how that is. But I prefer the matte black because, one, I can see the contrast when I'm weeding it from the shiny white disc, the matte black. And I also like black because it's a good indicator of how black my black part is for my stencil when I do that. So I can gauge like, okay, is it black as this vinyl or close? And I like the matte because I personally feel like it's a little bit more malleable and easier to work with. I feel like the glossy is a little bit tougher. But again, it really is a personal preference because Brittany will explain what she uses.
I use clear, Oracle 651 clear. And the reason I do that is because I don't have to do any mathematics when I center. I can pretty much see my design and look at it and be like, that's centered, and plop her down. It is a little harder probably weeding to see like where your lines are. I don't know, is it easy to miss a spot on the black?
Well, it still is because there may be some
Yeah.
small spots, but you can actually see uh, the contrast of like here's the white and black. And when I do weed, I go at a specific angle with my light
Yeah.
to see where all the lines are.
Yeah, I do that with the clear too. It's like you gotta kinda
One thing I don't know if you tried with your clear is putting baby powder on it and wiping it off so the baby powder gets in the cracks so you'll be able to see it better.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've thought about doing it, but I'm just used to what I do, so it hasn't really been an issue.
Oh, you're
And
stuck in
the
your
thing is
ways.
once I start putting black on, if I did miss a little spot, it's like, "Oh, I missed that." You can totally tell once you start applying the black, so
Yeah. All right. Well, when I prep my file, I put basically a little centered dot in the middle of the stencil. So that's where I know where the center of the stencil is, and I can match it up with the center of the disc. And it's just a really small dot. If it's like on the line of where the stencil is going to be great, because I don't have to do anything. But if not, you can just stick like a little piece of extra vinyl on top so you don't actually dye that part. But yeah. So the first thing I do is I like to basically puncture a little hole in the center all the way to the back of the paper or the backing paper. And I use something like either a paper towel or a business card, and I just take some sort of pointy object and I just gently push. I flip it over and you can feel it because it's like braille, but you can also visibly see it. And with the stencils that we sell, I do a little black mark on the back to denote where that center is. And now we get to apply the transfer paper. Tools that I like to use is a felt tip squeegee. I really like the felt tip because it just seems to be a little bit smoother. Hard tip, it works. Even if you're in a pinch, you can even use like a quick trip debit card if you want. So totally up to you.
Why mark the back where the center is?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay. Okay. I'm like trying to logic through it. I feel like the felt too protects the plastic from any like scrapes.
Yeah.
The felt squeegee.
So the transfer paper that I like to use is basically transfer paper. Just think of it as glorified masking tape, and it's 12 inches wide. I really like this stuff because it is super easy to work with. I rarely get any bubbles that are like annoying or problematic, and I've been getting really good at it. So hopefully I can show you guys how good. And the tack is the right tackiness. I think I have a link for it somewhere. So if you go to dyersguild.co/supplies, it lists all the supplies that we have or sell. And it's the Amazon link. You'll find this. I've used the plastic one that has like the grids on it. Like you have the ones with the red grid and the blue grid, which are different tackiness.
Were they clear?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I use.
I don't know if I have any offhand, but yeah. Well, yeah. This stuff.
Yeah.
I like the tape because again, it's just easier to work with and it's really easy to apply and forgiving. I feel like this stuff is not as forgiving, and depending on what tackness you get, because I think there's like a red line and blue line, which have different tackinesses. So yeah, and I feel it's a little bit more stiffer too. So it's hard to get the air bubbles out. It's not as malleable. So you won't necessarily be able to see this too well, but what I like to do, pull out a little bit, and at the edge of my table, I stick it like so, and I just unfurl what I need. I've been fairly good at figuring that out. And just like Christmas time, so just like wrapping paper, you can just kind of, yeah.
Get that smooth cut. But you only use it once?
Yes. So, you mean the transfer paper?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the reasons is because I feel like I'm a savage ripping it off and it just gets all crinkled.
It does get a little, yeah, like bent and stuff. I still reuse it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can reuse it, great. This stuff, it's not really great for reusability. Of course, now it's stuck to itself.
Yeah, that's the worst. Mine does that too. That's where you get the crinkles.
Okay.
Redo.
So.
I distracted you. It's my fault.
For the purpose of demonstration, I'll show you how to do that again.
You want to get that smooth transfer.
Yes. So pull out what you need. Let's go. Sweet.
Dave is like a perfectionist dyer and like sings a very specific way, and I'm like pure chaos.
All right.
Like, oh, I use the wrinkled, like bent, ripped transfer. It's fine. It's got dog hair in it. It's totally fine.
So then what I like to do is kind of like, again, I like this paper because it's easier to work with and it's not so, it's more forgiving. So once you apply it a little bit, it's not fully tacked down, you're not fully committed, and you can kind of work with it. But I do a little bit of a taco where I can. I set it down and I basically just take my finger and I go right along the center. Then I take my felt tip squeegee and I work my way from the inside out, which helps with any bubbles that may form. And the most important part is really the center part, because that's where all the design is. And that's really it. I may go over one more time really hard just to make sure that it's really on there. But yeah, just like that. And I really can't tell, but I can tell there's really no air bubbles. So, Brittany, you're asking, why did you punch it through the bag? Blah, blah, blah. Well, because the way that I apply it down like this, so I need to know where the center is on the actual transfer paper. If I flip it back over, I take my business card or whatever, and I re-poke the hole. Then I know exactly where the center is on the top. A marker, and for the ones that I sell, I put a dot where the center is. When I tell you, hey, that is the center.
What's up, Geoff? We're always just gonna say that. That's your name now.
So now I know where the center is. Now there's two ways that you can apply the stencil to the disc. First way, my preferred method, is taking the vinyl and actually putting it down on top. The other way, if you're a savage, is basically take the vinyl, find the center, and you apply the disc on top. Depending on what disc, one way may work better than the other. This is a really flat disc, so I think this way is going to suck because you really have no way of gradually applying the vinyl. Just kind of plop it on there and you may get some air bubbles. So I like to go from the top and basically taco it, and I will show that in 1 second. But I'm going to pull out the Disc-Aligned Pro 3000 the laser. And you can find plans, or you can actually buy this if you would like, so you don't have to have a janky setup. But if you like jank, by all means go for it. But if you want something a little bit more stable, more than welcome to build your own or get one of these. So, and I try to, if there's like a bottom stamp or something, I try to line it up with the stencil so it's the same orientation. Up to you. Then I do my best to try to find the center. Um, some discs are easier than others to find the center on the top of the flight plate. This one was fairly easy. And it shouldn't matter too much because the stencil is not horribly important. It can probably be off a little bit. So.
And there's no off center you can't fix with a spin.
Yeah. It's like this much of the spin on there. What happened?
I mean, it's still centered.
I always do this. I need to take the backing paper off before I do this because it's kind of in my work area. So move that for a second. The next step is just taking the backing paper off the vinyl. And it should come off cleanly. And I like to go at a really sharp angle so that the vinyl sticks to the transfer paper and doesn't stick to the backing paper. If the vinyl does stick to the backing paper, you can just go back over and scrub with your nail or the squeegee to make sure it's pressed down. And going at the sharp angle also helps with that so it doesn't peel up. But since all the material that I work with is so awesome, like the transfer paper and vinyl.
Best of quality. Tried and true.
For the most part, I typically don't have any issues. I feel like lately I haven't been having a lot of issues, which is great. So I'm just going to set this aside and recenter everything again.
That dude said this is the most stressful part of the entire process for him.
It is. And I have a zone which is a really flat disc. So it's a little bit more difficult to not get air bubbles because with the flat disc or even, geez, a puddle top disc, that'd be a pain in the butt. You want to go at a slight angle and not all at once. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think the domey discs are the hardest to get stencil like to the edge.
Yes, I would agree with that because you were trying to work with a curve with a flat piece
with a flat object.
Yeah. So there's plus and minuses, and if you are working with a more domey disc, you ever watched like the car wrappers? People that wrap cars with vinyl, they use heat, and that makes it more malleable. And when you apply it, you can use a little bit of heat with the heat gun or some other thing, and you can kind of just work your way from the top of the dome and work your way out to get that nice, smooth finish. But it is definitely an art form and very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that the more you do it, the more you practice, like the more you forget about all the issues you had in the beginning.
Yeah.
With it. Just takes trial and error sometimes. And like I still get bleeds and folds sometimes. But
all right. So I'm gonna go down at a taco and one side's gonna touch first. I'm just gonna lightly set it down. And I'm gonna take my finger and basically go from the inside out to hopefully mitigate any bubbles that may arise because you're working inside out. Then I'll just take my squeegee and gently go across, and you can actually hear the air bubbles, if you can, getting out. And so
that dude said if you have a domey disc, lay it down super gently, don't burnish, and hit the obvious bubbles with a hair dryer, and a lot of it will lay down flat on its own. So like you said, have that heat, make it more malleable.
Yeah.
I do like a gentle lay down, and then I like go over with the squeegee like where the design is first to make sure that's laid down flat. Like if there's spots that don't have design, it's okay if there's an air bubble there.
Oh. Yeah, and that's basically how you do it. I feel like this disc is almost a puddle top. Jeez. And since it's not going to the edge, I'm not going to worry about too much on the edges. Most of the design is within the center. But if it was all the way to the edge, again, depending on the disc, I would use some heat and just kind of keep burnishing as much as I can with the transfer paper on. After you remove the transfer paper, you can do some more burnishing because it'll be a little bit more malleable because you're working with the vinyl and not two things. Yeah, next we're going to take the transfer paper off. And I kind of like to tack it down on the table. Then I just pick a corner and start peeling. And just like with peeling the backing paper, I like to go at a sharp angle. But I don't have really any issues with the vinyl coming up. But if you do it for whatever reason, you can do the same process, just going back, burnishing it. Oh yeah. If you could only see how many bubbles there are not.
So smooth.
Yeah. Damn. I'm impressed for myself. Wow.
It's a good example that you gave us.
And it was a flat disc. I mean,
it's pretty darn good.
yeah. I mean, there's some you can see, like there's one there and there, but that's not
Nothing.
Yeah. But overall, I would consider that a great success.
Roxy said she uses the sketch and pen options to center the mark in the cameo after she prints her stencils.
Yep.
I do something very similar, but I just make a tiny circle with the circle tool, and then I color that in with like a bright red or color and hit center, so it centers it for me and I can see where it is on the design.
So now we come to the fun part, weeding the disc. So you can talk amongst yourselves and we can talk about some stuff, but I like to weed on the disc for multiple reasons. One of the reasons is I feel like it's easier to weed if you have like a really complicated stencil and you try to weed on the backing paper. It can be a pain in the butt and doesn't want to stick. And since you already applied the vinyl to something else that isn't backing paper, it's going to stick way better. The other thing is the pressure of applying the vinyl. If you already weeded a really complex stencil and you mess up the application, well, that kind of sucks. Yeah, I feel like there's some more that I like weeding on there, but also easier to see. I have to think about, okay, what the thing that always confuses me is like, okay, what do I need to weed?
Yeah, where do I start?
Okay, what is black and what is not? I think this is black. It is now. As far as weeding tools, I typically like to double fist it. I like to have these fine point tweezers. So they are really, really pointy, and lately I've been stabbing myself a lot with these things. That's not fun, but it's really nice because I like to take one of the tips, kind of go under the vinyl and lift everything up and just grab the rest with the actual PG tweezers. Then I also have just a normal Cricut weeding tool, and the reason why I like to double fist is I like to use this to hold down the vinyl and use the tweezers to pull up. So if there's like pieces that are not fully cut, like on the really sharp angles, I use the Cricut tool to hold it down, and I use the tweezers to pull the remaining up. What tools do you like to use, Brittany?
Say I'm 95% just the tweezers. Sometimes I use that burnishing tool to hold down the edges like you. It's just a different tool. It's the same tool I use to burnish.
Nice. And you guys in the audience, what do you like to weed with? The disc, that is. Yeah, this vinyl is much better.
Oh, good.
Geez, that other batch that I had, it kept ripping, and everything that was coming up was just complete residue. This comes up nicely.
This is like my favorite burnishing tool. that to come into.
Have you ever found anything else like it?
No, and I don't know what it's called, and I lost it once, and I could not find it, so I'm, like, really, really scared to lose it now because it's, like, I've used the little ball, I've used a couple other things, I'm like, "It's not the same, this gets the angles just right for me." So much that I made up my own little handle. And then this is a handy tool, I know I've shown it before, and you have too,
Oh, yes.
but it's for really tiny little detail, it's like this isn't really focusing. There
Yeah.
we go. It's got like a little needle basically, so if you gotta pick up little circles or just really fine detail, really narrow lines, it's really good to get those up, and then I just use the tweezers. Those are basically the 3 tools I use, those and a paintbrush.
Nice. Yeah, I really like this needle pen. Like, I don't know why it exists, but I'm glad it does.
Yeah. Yeah, someone doing some really detailed something. Maybe it's for, like, the miniature people,
Well,
that make the little miniatures.
weren't we looking for your burnisting tool? Isn't that used for like clay? Like,
I think that was the closest thing I found, but none of them were quite the same.
yeah.
And I don't know where I got this. I thought maybe it came with a Cameo. It's like I don't know, we got like a toolkit with it,
Uh-huh.
or I got it at my shop and it's a dab tool.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but I don't have any more, so I'm not sure. I burnish with the same pick. Just use the pick tool that Dave is using. Cricut tool that Dave is using. Yeah.
The only upside with a really shitty vinyl is stuff would stick.
Like the stuff around the edges.
Yeah,
Can
like
you show it again? Show what again? The needle one? Oh, the burnishing tool? Yeah, if anybody can find a link. I seriously was, like, panicking for, like, 3 days, and then I just looked down and found it. It was on the floor. So it's, like, really skinny this way, and then it's got kind of a fatter side to it. It looks like a little golf club, but I can I just like the angle where I can kinda, like, push things out on the edge and, like, hit a bigger surface area than, like, the ball does. The ball is, like, a very tiny point. This is, like, a wider area that touches the disc. And I like that, and I need that, and I will cry without it.
I think, yeah, I was trying to find something that was similar, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I was looking up, like, dental tools and clay tools and wood working tools, and I was like, "These are all close, but not quite the same."
yeah.
No idea. And there's a
Well,
lot of different tools out there. I
all
found that out.
right. I kinda messed up this top ribbon because it came up, but still salvageable. I'm not used to this vinyl now. I'm using the
Like,
clip.
"Oh, this vinyl works so
I
nicely.
know.
I don't remember how to do this." It's like, saved it.
Yeah. Not gonna look great, but no one will
No one
know
will know,
except for everybody that's watching.
but not from looking at the disc.
Oh,
I do a lot of things like that where I'm like, no one will notice."
yeah. It's like he gets so worked up. It's like no one's gonna know.
No. I've learned to let the small stuff go. That's what disc dyeing is good for me, is, like, kinda, like, lose control a little.
Yeah, no,
Will the
I like it.
guild have a booth at the NEDG Expo? Northeast Disc Golf Expo?
We will not. Um, one, cost. Two, we gotta travel from Wisconsin to there during the winter. Don't know exactly what the weather's gonna be like. So we will not be attending.
But if there's anything you want, you can go on the website.
Oh, what is your plan of attack when you start weeding a disc? You just pick a corner and go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I have zero. Like I don't always start in like the northwest corner or something. It's just like, oh, here's a spot. I usually have the stencil up
Mm.
on my screen and I like fill it with black, like the lines,
Mm-hmm.
so I can see it easier and I'll take a peek, like make sure, okay, this is supposed to be peeled up, right?
Yeah, especially with more complicated stencils.
Yeah. I've definitely messed up before. I've been
Yeah.
like, dang it.
For me, I feel like I want to pick the biggest areas because I don't want to do the small details because that's a pain in the butt. I guess I save those for last.
Yeah, I think the wider areas are easier too. Like sometimes they make it easier to pull up the smaller areas, like get a head start on it
Yeah.
if they're connected. No, get that dog out of here. Hi.
I also love stencils that everything is connected, and I hate stencils that have lots of dots. If everything's connected, it just pulls up in one little chunk, and the small little dots are just so tedious.
Yeah, it's really nice when it's all connected for sure.
I'm also working on a vinyl cut test pattern. You can test your vinyl cutter to see what settings work best for the vinyl that you have. Because I know at least with my Cricut, I had to do that, and even still, there's like if you have a really sharp corner, it doesn't seem to cut all the way, and always gets caught on that corner. It's like the sharp corners get pulled up. But doing that test pattern helps to figure out the best setting that you can get. Basically, it's a different bunch of shapes and different bunch of really sharp angles to see like, okay, this is kind of like the sharpest angle that I can cut, and also has different size dots. See like what the smallest dot you can cut is. Because if you have a lot of really small dots, it's a pain in the butt. Got a lovely guest there.
Yeah, I think the dog's gonna hang out with me. He doesn't like to leave my side.
Oh. Aww.
I know. He's a sweet boy. Yeah, I think circles are definitely one of the worst to they get pulled up too soon, like when they're in the cutter. And then you go to weed it and you're like, oh, where's that circle at? Because sometimes you want them to stay
Yeah.
and not be pulled up. And sometimes it's like, oh great, I don't have to pull that out.
So like got some of these really fine lines within what the technical term is, this bottom part of the mushroom.
The gills?
Yes?
Yes.
Seems all right. And I feel like with the sharp corners, you don't want to like, you have the sharp corner, you don't want to start peeling there. You want to peel on a blunt corner or go sideways. Any sense? Oh yeah, the other thing that I forgot to mention, since this is a bottom stamp, I didn't necessarily have to worry about that. But if you are wiping a stamp, most stamps basically emboss the disc even after you wipe it, which can be a pain in the butt. And the extra step that I do is I take a heat gun to heat up the vinyl, then I burnish it where the stamp is. So any embossing, I try to make sure that the vinyl is really in there to reduce those bleeds. Which I think is what you use the burnishing tool for.
I'll also pop it in the dehydrator just for like 5 minutes, warm it up, and then burnish it around the stamp stuff, especially those really deep ones. Like heat helps a lot. It almost like shrink wraps it to some spots. So then you still got to go in and like really get the detail, but
Yeah.
I think that does help a lot. Pugsuey wanted to meet you in person. That's why he was wondering. Yeah, come to Wisconsin.
If you really want.
There might be some travels in the future. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm not really that cool in person. Stick with video.
You're probably going to hear my dog chewing a bone in the background, so that's fun.
That's fun.
Who does? I think most disc dyers are cool with dogs. It's just like stoners and disc dyers. They like dogs.
You may hear a train go by for me, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's a part on top of this mushroom hat that has a lot of detail that I'm kind of not looking forward to.
Do you ever go and burnish ahead of time? Like push down all the detailed stuff, and then when you peel it up, it doesn't want to come up as easily? Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I've totally done that all the time.
No, I do that once in a while. Another thing that helps is if I do hit it with heat, I feel like it activates the adhesive a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically just warms up the adhesive to make it more tacky.
Buffalo, New York. Yeah, that someday he might be out that way. Beans approves. Dye dude's colorful dog, right? I feel like I need to do a photo shoot with Beans. We can show off our colors together.
Nice. Also, again, the nice thing is, like, no one's going to notice if a piece is really there or not, depending on
which piece it is.
Yes. If it's an eye, yeah, maybe.
It's just a one-eyed person. It was supposed to be like that.
But if it's just some random ass speckles, but furnishing a little bit did help. So
good. Yeah, I definitely do that a lot when there's little detailed spots. Do it ahead of time, kind of push those bits kind of want to pop up.
Yeah.
Push them back down. Show them who's boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you can't meet Dave, you can go meet another dyer. That's really fun. I've done that a few times. We got 2 New York people in the chat.
Nice. Almost done here.
Well, now everybody gets to see the design because I don't think you showed them ahead of time.
I did not.
So, ta-da! It's a mushroom Christmas festival.
Yes. So it is AI generated, and I liked it because it looks like it's wearing a hat.
Yeah, it's so great. Oh, little winter hat. And it's like instead of a Christmas tree, it's a giant mushroom. My daughter would love that. Get a mushroom instead. Mushrooms are so hot right now.
So hot. I've been keep getting ads for like mushroom gummies for ADHD. Maybe.
We actually just got samples of something like that.
Really? Well, if you need somebody you need someone to test them.
There's daytime and nighttime. The nighttime work, I can tell you that.
I heard not to, well, if you have ADHD, not to do it at nighttime because it makes you really focused.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great.
Well,
yeah, we were at a birthday party and Mark ate the nighttime and was very sleepy. He's like, I don't know why I feel like this. And then he's like, oh yeah, I ate gummies. That's why. That's all it is.
Oh, bless his heart. Well, for people that don't know, Brittany does own a head shop, is the technical term, right?
It's a disc golf head shop.
Yes.
We have discs and like smoke and vape stuff. So we get a lot of samples of things, but I don't really partake that much. So my employees are very well taken care of.
I'll say, do you have to test the products before you sell them?
I generally do that. Have somebody test them, and we give them to like regular customers too. Be like, yeah, next time you come in, let us know how they worked.
Nice. All right, I have finished weeding, and I'm actually going to stick this in the dehydrator for just a little bit because I'm worried about bleeds because how easy some of the vinyl is coming up, and I want it to be a little bit more tacky just to make sure that my dye solution doesn't get sneaky and go somewhere that it's not supposed to.
Did you clean the disc first, Dave? I just realized we forgot. And that's why it's not stick. Actually, the ESP though, it doesn't stick as much either. Same with like glow.
Yeah, I feel like if you just douse it in acetone, it sticks more than fresh one. But yes, really, really important thing that I forgot to do that I have not done in a really, really long time. I was just so anxious.
Because it was that blank.
I was just so anxious. Cleaning your disc. You want to clean your disc because in the manufacturing process, they use typically some sort of release agent on the disc, and the dye does not like to accept that. Big offenders are castoplast. That's why they're like really super glossy and shiny. But I feel like I should be okay with this.
I wonder if you could just wipe it real quick with ISO after the fact, because all the white stuff will be exposed.
Yeah, so that's probably what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat it up real quick, then do a quick wipe with ISO, then we'll get to the blacking of the stencil. So, and we're gonna be using denatured alcohol and black for the stencil portion, and we're going to be applying it basically just like this with a little syringe and paint brushing it on. So I'm just preemptively kind of taping up the corners to create a bowl so that when the dye, if it does go to the sides, it's not going to get horribly everywhere.
I feel like black application is one of those things that you can use any technique, and everybody just has whatever they have that they use. Like hot dip, obviously. I get too impatient with hot dip. I like the intimacy of being involved in the whole process.
Yeah.
I know people who use lotion and swear by lotion. Lotion's just fine. I hate waiting, but it works totally fine.
Yeah. I've been really digging the DA, and recently I found that heating up the DA and the disc, if you can, helps out tremendously. So I had this DA in the dehydrator warming up. You could use like a mug warmer if you want. The other thing that I like to do is I actually like to shake up the black because I basically oversaturate it. So I put like a crap ton of dye in there to make sure that it's really black. If it's been sitting for a while, all that settles. So I like to shake it up a little bit. You may get a little bit of grain of the dye when you're actually applying it, but that's fine for that part.
It's like a paste almost sometimes. So I just had to remake my black, and there was like a ½ inch at least of solids on the bottom because I just keep adding to it, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna add much this time. I'm just gonna see if I can still like use this stuff and just like mix it up really good. And I got it hot too in the dehydrator like you did.
Yeah.
Make sure you loosen the cap if you do that.
Yes. You don't want anything exploding.
Black dye in your dehydrator.
It's fine because the dehydrator is somewhat contained, but still, it would suck.
Yeah. And what a waste of dye.
And speaking of spilling, I'm going to put this in my tray so I don't accidentally knock anything over. All right. Yeah. So, see if we can read some of the comments. Xander says, I never get intimate with lotion. It is a bit weird when you buy a couple tubs of lotion and paper towel and you go to the checkout and they give you a weird look. But
I highly, highly recommend adding something fun in there, like a cucumber, just to really make them think.
And condoms.
You know, make it spicy for them. Let them really like get creative. Blue dye on the ceiling. Yeah. Yep.
I'm working on
Lotion?
I'm working on a stencil dye using lotion, 2 coats, metal on a glow disc. Nice. For whatever reason, I'm not a huge fan of lotion.
We're
Mainly,
too impatient.
yes, I feel like I'm too impatient and overcook it. Then it gets bubbly and or dries out on the edges.
Yeah, it's like dark around the edge, and the middle is all light. Yeah. And I have found sometimes I'll use it as like a base. Like I cannot get neon royal purple really bright with DA. So lotion is the best way to do that. So like I have found if I do the lotion layer, sometimes the DA, I go over it with DA and it like doesn't want to, it's like a almost like hydrophobic if I do lotion first. So
if you heat up your vinyl, it's very malleable, and I had to pull out the entire tray because it got stuck to it. Yeah, then you just kind of have a burnishing tool, or use your fingernail, squeegee, and if you do have any bubbles like on the edges of the cut line, just push that down. But I mainly just wanted to heat it up to activate the adhesive per se, to make it more sticky.
since you didn't wash it. Some plastic, it doesn't stick as much though. I've definitely found that.
Yeah, this is true. So now I'm just going to take some isopropyl alcohol. This is what I should have done before I applied the vinyl, is clean the disc. And I'm just going to gently go over it. Not going too hard because I don't want any of the schnibblies to get picked up.
Schnibblies are important, guys. Make sure the schnibblies stay down.
Gotta tell those schnibblies who's boss.
Dave's the schnibbly master.
All right. Good enough. Well, it's an experiment, right?
It's a learning moment. There are no mistakes, just learning moments.
This is very true. As perfect as I want to be, I am not perfect.
A lotion-based color NDA shading. Do you ever find like the lotion sometimes makes like a hydrophobic layer when you go in with the DA? Can remove some color, yeah.
Right. So, that's not supposed to happen. Grab a different brush. I like to take my pipette and add some of that nice warm DA to the disc. Nice thing about this disc is it's kind of a puddle top, so it's going to stay in the center.
It's gonna stay right where it's supposed to.
Yeah. And I like to use a healthy amount. On there. Then I just take the brush and brush over areas that may need it, and it's puddling to one side, just kind of puddle it somewhere else.
Relocate the puddles.
Yeah. But it will start to evaporate, which is what we kind of want. And I used to do a couple layers, but now with this heated super saturated mixture, it's basically one and done. I think I actually might have applied a little too much juice on.
Maybe it'll last longer.
We can only hope.
So I have found I used to do a bunch of thin layers, and lately I've been doing it more like this where I kind of puddle it on there. But I have noticed I have to be more careful cleaning it because like around where the stencil is, kind of like collects the black residue.
Yeah, so like on the edges where the vinyl and disc meet.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd be real careful about cleaning it.
Yes. The thing with dye in general is if it's wet, then it'll actually take to the disc. If it starts drying, it stops absorbing. Like especially with lotion, if lotion starts to dry out, it's Not going to take to the disc. Yeah. And that's why some people like to use detergent, because it doesn't like to dry out as fast or as much as some other methods. All right. That is that with the black DA.
I thought about that. I was like, I wonder if we put like cornstarch or something thick in there, if it would like stay wet longer.
What we
And
want.
like maybe it would saturate faster or more fully. I don't know.
I feel like people have experimented with cornstarch with not the greatest results for.
Or like, as I like to add the intensifier, which is like oily. Maybe because it's oily, it doesn't evaporate as fast, and then it saturates more.
Puppy is not happy. He wants pets.
I want all the attention all the time.
All right. So I wiped up the excess dye, and if you can see, there is a coppery sheen everywhere, more so on the vinyl. But that is excess residue dye that you want to wipe off, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. Again, it's a little bit more noticeable on the actual vinyl part. You also get this when you're doing hot dipping as well. I've noticed sometimes, like on the surface of the hot dip, you'll see that gold-ish sheen with the black. But yeah, that means that there is just excess dye that you want to wipe off. And there's different ways that you can wipe it off. You can do, soap and water. For me, it's just easier to do isopropyl alcohol. And just give it a dousing in a paper towel and gently go over it. I know I mentioned this before, but I like to use the shop towel over other cotton products, so they, like the other cotton balls or swabs or stuff like that, get stuck on the edges of the vinyl and pain in the butt. And I just like to lightly go over and rotate often, and adding some more.
I usually do a magic eraser and soap and water myself.
And you can tell.
I've never tried this though.
But I mean, I don't think I've tried a magic eraser in water. This, for me, it works because I don't have readily accessible running water.
Right.
And this is just faster. But yeah, still a lot of black dye is coming off. Like I put a lot on there. That dye was a lot more potent than I was expecting.
It's a good problem.
Yeah. But also bad because if there's a lot of residue dye, you're going to have a problem down the line.
It's true.
And I'm probably not going to do any coloring for this disc tonight. Because, Brittany, I like to let it sit for a day.
Yes, I have found when you use the DA method to apply the black, letting it sit for a day really helps the black stay where it's supposed to and not bleed into whatever color application you use. So like painting with DA, it likes to pull that black out. But if I give it 24 hours, it reduces that significantly.
The other thing is, have you tried putting it in a freezer for a shorter period of time to see if it has the same effect?
I thought about that, but I'm like, then I have a cold disc, which isn't going to take the dye as fast.
Well, you got to let it warm up. Put it in the dehydrator again.
I think cold would slow down the process of like letting the black set.
Well, I stuck mine outside one time recently when I was working on one, and I left it there for 24 hours regardless, but I want to think it helps.
Okay. I do think like if I do a glue bed where it gets like heated up and like really set in there, it's a little better, but I still think waiting it out is the way to go. I have like a stencil day in the beginning of the week where I stencil as many as I can so that the next day I can start coloring them in, and then I have like the discs I need to color in that week kind of ready to go.
Yeah, I'm impatient.
Oh, I hate it. I don't like it either. That's why I have to do like, okay, I'm going to do all my stencils today so I can at least stay busy.
Well, I can keep wiping this, but it's satisfactory for now. Like, how much do you keep wiping? Do you wipe till you don't see any stuff anymore?
Well, I do soap and water, so it's a different, I don't really have like something to check because the water's running.
So you like to have a bidet?
You could use a bidet up there. It would serve many purposes.
Yes. So yeah. Trying to think.
Are you doing a members only after this?
We will be doing a members only. So I think I'm going to wrap it up for this. But if you want to see me doing a bet on this, I think you can become a member. And if you're not a member, why are you not a member?
It's a great way to support the cause, you guys.
Yes. It helps support the Dyers Guild tremendously to do things like this. We have a bunch of content that we want to do for the 2025 year, and the contributions for that will make that possible. One thing that I really want to do is update the dye acceptability chart. That requires purchasing discs. That
also, how many cutters did you just purchase?
I have
for your testing.
Yes, I still need to do that. But yes, purchase some vinyl cutters to see which vinyl cutters are the best for the price that you get. If you become a member, there's different tiers that you can join. Yeah, any contribution helps. Every tier gets you a monthly live stream that's going to be happening after this. It's usually after the Dye-a-Thon. Then there's also different levels that you can choose if you want. You can get different discounts on the store. And we also have the Ace membership, which is the highest tier, but that gets you the Dyers Delight box every month. And that will be a $49.95 value. And if you were there for November, you got a crap ton of discs. They may have been slightly blemished, but I think I put like 5 discs in there.
Insane. Such a good deal.
But you'll be guaranteed at least 2 white dyeable discs along with some sort of goodie. And I'm going to try to announce what that's going to be in the box, hopefully this coming year. So, long story short, become a member.
Become a member. Also, it's a great thing to put on your Christmas list for you hard to shop for people.
Yes.
Buy me a membership. And I will personally offer the Eagle people an hour of my time.
Oh, wow. So,
if you request it, I'll give it to you.
We have no takers.
Well, I'm telling them right now.
Nice. So yeah, you want to talk to Brittany for an hour about, I don't know, cheese? More than welcome to do that.
Cheese. I was thinking about disc dyes, but if you want to talk about cheese, let me tell you.
Yes. Yeah. Trying to think of what else I can schlep. We got caddies that hold things. We have trays that hold things. These, I really like them. I spilled stuff before without using that, and that was annoying. I don't have any rim jobbers on hand.
I do. What, you got yours? Like, I'll find one. There's 100 of them laying around here.
I got a prototype rim jobber. And what this is a stamp that you can put on the inside rim of your disc. And it's got an ergonomic handle, so any way that you want to apply the stamp, you are more than welcome to do so. Or it's kind of like, knuckles. If you want to punch somebody.
It's also a personal safety device.
Yeah. But yeah, got that lovely rubber stamp that is laser cut, so you don't have any extra goobly-gop like on the square stamps, and it's got a little foam padding, so it's nice and squishy. And this is the prototype one. But we can't see because it's overexposed. But you can get some silly faces.
Face. I got the angry face.
And they make great gifts for the disc golfer that has everything already. I feel like a lot of people that purchased it have purchased it for gifts. And yeah, we also
Great.
offer stain colors for that as well. All right. Anything else that we need to schlep?
I think we've slept.
All right, we slept and snibbled. Schnibbles.
All the schnibbling.
So thank you very much for joining this month's Dye-a-Thon. And again, the month's theme is Winter Wonderland. And the Dye-a-Thon isn't a contest, but just a fun way to potentially get your creative juices flowing, try something different. And if you submit your submission on the website, you'll get entered for a random drawing to win a dyeable disc this month. So luckily we actually have, I think, 3 people. So it's better than 0.
But your odds are good.
Yes. Really, really good. 1 month we had 1 person. So that was fun spinning that wheel.
We're going to spin the wheel no matter what, you guys. So might as well be on it.
Yes. All right. Until next time, guys, find your